Hey everybody, John here from Stroke Sweat Squad, outside your comfort zone. Day one of the hand arm challenge. Just showing, talk to you a little bit about trying to relax. It's something they explained to me early on in my journey, my stroke. I didn't really comprehend it too much, and I couldn't concentrate enough. But it's something that some of you are maybe far enough along in your journey that this may make sense to you at this point, or you can give it a shot. At least you'll learn something. Maybe down the road it might come up and you say, hey, I can start to relax a little bit, and now I can take this stuff and start using it. So one thing I've always done is okay, you've got tone, spasticity in your arm, your shoulder, and it's tight. It's always tight. So the first thing you got to do, just as you do in any exercise, you just stretch it out. So they do the one where you put your arm against a wall and twist your body back and you stretch the pec out this way. Or a lot of times I've always just put my hand behind a wall or table and turn my body and got it that way. But there is another way where you can just set it on the table in front of you. Yes, my fingers they're closed, but they're not clenched. But if yours are clenched, that's okay. You can just step back from the table and start to get your head past the table. Or you do this standing at a counter. Start to stretch that shoulder out, stretch it back through here, stretch the backside out. And you should pay attention. There's a difference between pain and discomfort. If you're pinching a nerve, it's going to be discomfort. If you're pinching a nerve, it's going to be pain. At that point, you should stop. If you are stretching a muscle or stretching the tendons out, it's going to be some discomfort, and you just hold at those points as much as you can take, and see if you can stretch them out a little farther. This stretch right here usually lasts 30 seconds or so. So I was like, I'm moving back from the table quite a bit. Get this arm right here to stretch out. I feel it through the back side of my arm over here and to the front. But you gotta remember, you're walking and you're holding your arm up with your shoulder, or if you're using a sling, you're still activating this pec, and it's tight. So you want to try to get that thing to loosen up. So a lot of times I will turn to the side. Just like, they want you on a wall. So you go down like this and stretch everything out through here. I might try to get my hand upside down here. I can quite do it. I'm feeling a stretch to the top here. My hand elbow wants to curl up. Tends to the tone of my elbow, so it's still there. So the other thing you want to do is, if you can, put your arm on the table. But you always want to stretch first. Try to get that stretch out as much as you can, get it to relax. Then try not to activate the shoulder again. I mean, it's hard to say, it's hard to do, easy to say. There's a lot of therapists who've never experienced a stroke or any type of deficit like this. It's easy for them to tell you this, but you want to try. That's why I rest the elbow on the table. Let the hand try to relax a little bit. Let the shoulder relax. The table has my arm. I can lean down a little bit and just take the pressure off the shoulder. This way I can work with my fingers a little bit. Get my fingers to pull out a little bit. And just hold them flat. Get this book out of the way. So if I just pull them out like that and I just hold them flat. My thumb is still tucked down the back side of my hand. I can try to work around here to get my thumb out. May not be able to do it. Well, I did get the thumb out. There it goes. The other thing I've noticed is when I do something like this, if you pull back on your hand, you sort of like stretch your fingers out at the same time. So when you're trying to fight these knuckles wanting to buckle up on you, like they are on me here, you just, you get back a little bit, but keep the elbow on the table. Keep your hand flat as much as you can. You can see my wrist is bent, but the idea is to get the wrist down flat, which we'll get to that here in a minute, a different setup. You can sit and hold this like this, to try to get relaxed and to stay out. Let them know this is where they're supposed to be. You're to retrain your brain to say, hey, this is what I want my hand to do. I don't want my hand to curl up. I want my fingers to be extended. So quit activating the muscles to curl my fingers. So you're talking to your brain and trying to figure, say, hey, this is what I want. So you're showing your brain what you want to do. So fingers are down, My wrist is bent a little bit, but eventually I want to get the wrist down. So we'll do that from a standing position here in a minute. But you do this for about, I don't know, you do this for 30, 40 seconds. You might sit here a couple minutes holding these down. And just let your elbows sit on the table and relax your upper chest. Just let it relax and let those fingers flatten out. See, I can see for the most part mine will stay flat. My thumb's still tucked up under here and under my hand, but I'll get it out there too. So now I've got a thumb on a thumb and the fingers on the fingers holding these down, just trying to relax. Just, you can sit here and hold this, close your eyes, and just try deep breathing and relax. This will help you start to extend those fingers and start to relax this hand and arm so you're not activating those muscles just trying to do something. And I know they all working. I mean, if I just move your hand, your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, all move at the same time. But if you're unaffected side, it doesn't do that. You have control of which ones you want to activate. So you're retraining the brain here to not activate your fingers. And with my wrist being bent, it does lengthen the tendons a little bit so they're not pulled as tight. So we'll get to a different position here in a minute on these, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, trying to get those to stretch out a little bit more. So if you hold this, I'd say 4 or 5 minutes. Eventually you get your hand to lay flat. We'll do it here in a second. You see my hand is staying pretty well relaxed. The finger, I'm holding my shoulder, which I have built strength in my shoulder, which I highly advise to build strength in your shoulder through your traps on the back and through your pec on the front. Build some strength. Say you're holding your arm and you're not forcing it with your, because a lot of times you try to lift your arm with your hand, but you want to lift your arm with your shoulder. So you see my fingers were pretty loose. If I go to stand up, I guarantee my hand will, I'm not going to say it's going to clench, but they'll curl in a little bit more when I go to stand up. You see, just put my arm down, they curled up. But I can lay them out flat. I can go to that position I had a minute ago, really simple, really easily. Get this thumb out of from underneath my palm, I'll be all right. You see my fingers are down flat again, pretty easily. So it's just something to keep working on. You can probably attempt this 2 or 3 times during the day, but be sure you stretch out your pec muscle, stretch out your shoulder. Your shoulder, get this thing to relax. Put your elbow on the table. If you're going to sit in a chair, get it on the arm of the chair and just let the hand sit there and relax while you're watching TV or whatever, and just get that hand relaxed. If you have to lean over into it a little bit while you're on a chair in the living room or whatever, lean over on it, put the pressure under your elbow, and let your hand relax. So you're teaching your brain to relax. Now, the other one to work on is strictly up. Do the same thing. Now I'll put a towel down here to work off of. Do the same thing. I'm pushing down into my palm. Now I'm pushing down on my hand. You see my fingers are curled up. So I'll try this again. See, I can get the fingers to stay down and push the palm down. When I push the palm down, the fingers are wanting to curl because all of a sudden I've tightened, those tendons are all tightened up again. So I'm wanting to stretch those tendons out a little bit. And then with the towel, I can move it forward and put some weight on it. You can really lean into it and do some weight bearing on this hand. The weight bearing is actually, is actually through my wrist into my palm. I'm not really pushing down on my fingers or my hand. I'm pushing down on my hand and my fingers to straighten them out to really get them to relax. If you sit there and hold this is the weight bearing you should be doing to get your hand to relax. There's some of you that are still going to have some problems with that. If you can get a towel roll into your hand and then get the hand down so you're pushing into that. Yes, you're gripping the towel, but you're weight bearing on this wrist saying, hey, this is what I wanted to do. So that's a start to get into your fingers. So you want to lock that, if you have to, lock that elbow in and do the weight bearing around that wrist. I can't say it's not going to, you're going to feel a little bit of the pull. You're going to feel that. I said that's tendons and muscle stretching. If you're feeling pain in the wrist, like a nerve being pinched, then you need to stop and look at other options with your doctor. Let's see right here, my knuckles are white, so I'm putting pressure down. You probably can't see them on camera. But then that's one way to start. That's where I started at, was with a towel roll. But I eventually got to where I could put my fingers down like this, hold my fingers down, and then push into the wrist. When I'm pushing into the wrist, a little better control here. wrist down, fingers down. If you got the towel down, at least let your hand just slide a little bit, and you're not putting any tension on your fingers. You're not like rubbing them raw on a table. So I got my fingers flat. Eventually you get to getting your fingers flat, and you can put a book on top of them. I usually sometimes use a free weight on top of that. Just put light pressure, but please put a towel over your hand to do that, so you're not creating any hot spots on your knuckles or smashing anything. Just put the weight, and like I said, I use a free weight also. But that would be the first part for day one. Trying to work on this right here, either this option or get to this option here. Get the towel roll in there so you're not putting pressure on your fingers. You're actually putting pressure into the towel. Yes, my fingers are gripping the towel. They're not clenched tight. They're loose enough that I can just lift up. You see, I can put my fingers back off there. So they're working to be a little bit better. So this will be day one. I try this. This will probably be pretty much what you do for most of the week. I try this 2 or 3 times a day if you can. If you get more in there, that's great. If you're sitting there on the couch watching TV, like I said, just take a chance or take your body, lean over on the edge of the couch. The arm of the couch. Just put the weight into your elbow. Get your hand out there and just sit there and hold your fingers out while you're watching TV. It's easy to do this exercise while you're watching TV. It feels great once they're straightened out and you're telling them this is what you want. And you gotta remember those tendons and muscles have been clenched up for however many months or years. So you're trying to stretch out a lot of tightnesses in there. So just try to keep doing that as much as you can. Again, like I said, once I've built my shoulder up, so a lot of times my fingers are super loose. You see my hand is up to here. As long as I get about shoulder height with the elbow, things start to relax. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to work. Just something I come across one day, messing with it, sitting on the couch and leaning into it like this and just messing with things. A lot of things I've experienced or discovered, I've done by accident on myself. Nothing I've read up on, nothing a therapist showed me. I've just come across it, messing with my arm and hand by itself, and say, okay, this works. And I take a combination of what therapists or students have showed me, and I go from there. And it just seems to help out. Again, this is day one. I'll do another video for day two. We'll go probably similar to the same thing. And you might see some changes within the first couple days of things starting to relax a little more. But do that weight bearing. Definitely get up on the table. Get up there, get these things down, and then try to get that wrist down. My thumb is still tucked under my hand, so that's more I got to work on. But the fingers are down. They're on a towel. I can push into the table. Put full weight into it. If you need to, have somebody stand there and block your elbow up, then have them do that also, so you don't lose your elbow. But usually, once you get the elbow straight and you get in there, it'll pretty lock itself in and hold. Just try to put as much weight on as you can and work it from there. Again, day one, August 1st. Again, see, I can do my hand's down, but you see that just in the short period I'm doing, my fingers are pretty loose. My hand is not clenching up. I guess get the thumb to come out a little bit more as I move my arm around. So just that little bit I was working on there, things seem to loosen up a little bit. So this could potentially work for you. I can't say it's going to work for everybody, but give it a shot. What's it going to hurt you to sit there while you're watching TV, to just lean over on your elbow, put your weight on your elbow, let your hand relax, take a couple deep breaths, and mess with your hand. So hope that helps out with you guys. We'll add stuff more as the month goes on. This is the 30-day challenge. Hopefully everybody can get into this and it'll help out. Yes, I got this long rod, so I touch my camera way over here and put it on. There it is. Stop.